Welcome to the Prophecy Club. We have a very unusual topic today, and let me just say, I love you. I do love the Pretribbers. So my topic is, when will the Pretribbers realize the doctrine is false? Or what will need to happen to cause the Pretribbers to finally realize the rapture is not coming to save them? That's my question. Now, John 13:35 says, by this shall you know that all men are my, by this shall you, let me try it again. John 13:35 says, by this shall all men know that you are my disciples if you have love one for another. So I love you, whether you're a pre-trib or not. I have a lot of pre-trib friends. Matter of fact, if I didn't have pre-trib friends, I probably wouldn't have any friends at all, because most of the people out there are pre-trib believers. So I love you, and I hope you accept me, even though I see it differently, okay? So I love my pre-trib brothers and sisters. It does not bother me a bit that they believe differently than me, and I hope that it doesn't bother you that I believe differently than you. I have many pre-trib friends. Also, I want to just say I'm settled in my spirit that I have the truth. And I believe that the Holy Spirit knows the truth about the rapture. And the question I would say is, why do pre-tribbers get angry at those who do not believe as they do? In other words, okay, I don't believe in a pre-trib rapture, but if you don't believe in a pre-trib rapture, we can still be friends. It's kind of like I can be friends with a Muslim. I can be friends with people that worship Allah, okay, or other gods. I can be friends with them. But it just seems like many times the pre-tribbers can't be friends with Christians that aren't pre-tribbers. So could it be? It's a big question. I do not mean to offend with a question. So could it be the Holy Spirit is actually trying to tell the pre-tribbers that they don't have it right? And maybe he's speaking to them and they don't like that. Okay. Mark Twain said, it is easier to fool people than it is to convince them they have been fooled. What? It is easier to fool people than it is to convince them that they've been fooled. History repeats itself. It must, because nobody listens. A couple of pieces of thought before we get into today. Now, we've got a new sponsor. It's sat123.com. Sat123.com. I'm amazed at what this company offers. They got satellite phones. They've got Wi-Fi hotspots where you can have internet any place. So suitcase nukes go off in your city. If you don't have to worry about that, you still have electricity, it can go right up and connect to a satellite. They also have marine satellite internet. They also have satellite radios so that you can talk back and forth, even though, in other words, it's not a phone, it's a radio, but it's satellite. So go check it out, satellite123.com. And if you use the promo code PROPHECY, there are several different kinds of discounts in there. And it helps your Prophecy Club. Okay, so what is the threshold? This is the question we're trying to answer today. When will the pre-tribbers realize the doctrine is false? The word threshold means a piece of wood or stone placed beneath a door sill, either end of an airport runway, or, this is my point, the place or point of beginning or the outset. In other words, when are they going to realize? What does it take for them to realize? I looked up perfect storm, and is a disaster or a serious difficulty produced by a chance combination of factors. My question is it going to be one specific incident? Is it going to be 2 or 3 or 4, or the whole world falling apart? What is it going to take for the pre-tribbers to finally realize, oops, we should have been gone by now? Here's a summary of prophecies that this is what the prophecies seem to be saying. And my question is, will any one of these, any 2 of these, any 3 or 4 of these, how many of these will have to happen before it finally opens their eyes? We're looking at massive arrests, 400,000 plus people, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people that have seen that. Trump returns to power, be it president or be it king. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that say that. A new financial system. I got 4 people that say that. The new name for our nation is going to be called the Republic of the United States. A new flag, 2 people says that. New paper or digital dollar is going to replace it. Warren and Coverstone say that. I don't think it's the internal revolution because we haven't seen any of the signs fulfilled. But my point is today, not covering these things, my point is, does it take one of these? 2, 3, 4? I mean, what does it take for the pre-tribbers to say, wait a minute, guys, we should have been out here by now. Okay, now let's look at some of these. This is the order of devastation of the prophecies from what I believe. In other words, the worst one will be the destruction of America when the Russians attack us and destroy the nation in 1 hour. We're not talking about suitcase nukes. We're not talking about an earthquake. We're talking about potentially 50 to 100 massive nuclear bombs hitting all over America, destroying us in 1 hour. That would be worse. My opinion, second would be suitcase nukes. Third would be an earthquake, although you don't know how bad it's going to be. It could be just something simple as the Great Lakes opening up all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico. Or it could be something real bad where also the East Coast and the West Coast drop into the ocean. I mean, God could just cause the whole United States to drop underwater. And then food shortage or dollar. So is it going to be one or several of those? And I'm going to say that by the time the suitcase nukes hit, that's probably going to be a point to where most of them say, wait a minute, we should have been out here. Could be an earthquake. And it might be the food shortages. It might be the dollar fall, but for sure it'll be when the Russians attack us. Now, the point, I've got to keep staying on point. I put these in here for my reminders. When will the pre-tribbers realize the doctrine is false? Is it going to be one of these? Or this is a predictive order of prophecies. In other words, this is my best guess, and believe me, it's just a guess, when they're going to come to pass. What is the order? My guess is the dollar is going to fall because I see that already in progress, as you do too. The next thing is a meteor tsunami earthquake, because that could be Omar ushers in Palestinian state. The dollar falling, and then someplace in there, I think that the dollar falling could cause food shortage. Massive arrest could and will cause food shortage. Suitcase nuke probably comes after the massive arrests and then no gasoline. But anyway, all of those right there could be happening before the end of 25. And I think at that point, it'll probably only take 2 or 3 of them for the pre-tribbers to say, wait a minute, guys, wait a minute. We misunderstood something here because we should have been out of here by now. Again, I put this in here to remind me, when will what's going to take to wake up the pre-tribbers? Now, this is, in my opinion, again, the top 6 all-time prophecies. Obviously, number 1 is Jesus returning, because time stops, we're going to eternity. Number 2 would be Mark of the Beast. Number 3, Russia destroying America. Number 4, suitcase. Number 5, New Madrid earthquake. Number 6, food shortage / dollar fall. But the question is, how far up do we have to get up that list? Are they going to start waking up at the food shortage dollar falling? Hopefully. Is it going to take an earthquake? Suitcase nukes going? That's my question. That's my point today. Now, next big question. How will the pre-tribbers react when they finally realize they have believed a false doctrine? How are they going to react? In other words, what will pre-tribbers do when they realize they have been lied to? Now, I know if you're a pre-tribber, you're saying, but we haven't been lied to. I understand that. But for just this program, assume for just a minute, I want you to get on the other side of the lie. I want you to, for just a moment, to assume that you finally reached the point to where we should have been out of here. That's my point. At that point, what are the people going to do that are pre-tribbers? Stan, I think the pre-tribbers will walk away from the church, call Jesus and the Bible names, perhaps burn their churches. Who said that? Michael Boldea. This is the grandson and interpreter of Dimitri Duduman. When I said that to him, he said, if that's all that happens, the pastors will have a God-off light. So let me back up. This is me saying this. I think the pre-tribbers going to walk away. I think they're going to get mad at their pastors, perhaps burn the churches. And he said if that's all that's going to happen, the pastors got off light. In other words, it may be the pastors get beaten, not only the churches burned, and who knows, maybe they even kill them. There's going to be a lot of killing in the days ahead. Now, here's the question. Which is better? Is it better that a pre-tribber remains happy until they discover they're wrong, and that means that they're not prepared to endure? In other words, they haven't prepared anything mentally, spiritually, emotionally. We don't have to prepare for any of that. We're not going to be here. Or is it better to be, say, pre-wrath, prepared to endure to the end? I think the better place is really to be prepared. Please, I'm not trying to offend you, okay? I hope you'll still stay with me. But at the same time, I'm looking down the road, and if you're a pre-tribber, don't be offended. Stay with me here, okay? I'm gonna bring you some thought-provoking points here, okay? Stay with me. 3 world wars. This is actually a very famous letter that was supposed to be kept private. Albert Pike received a vision. By the matter of fact, you can Google that. You can Google 3 world wars, Albert Pike, and boom, it pops up. I mean, it's all over every place out there. So the story is Albert Pike received a vision. Who's Albert Pike? He's the starter of the Freemasons, wrote the book, what was the name of it? On the front of it, it says Ordo Ab Chao. I don't know. I had a copy of the book. I threw it away, of course. Albert Pike received a vision, which is described in a letter that he wrote to Mazzini, dated August 15, 1871. This letter graphically outlined plans for 3 world wars that were seen as necessary to bring about a one world order. Now, the 3rd world war we're going to get here is very important. So we have to ask ourselves, were they correct in what they were planning, and did their plans come to pass? So what happened in the First World War? Essentially what this says is that the First World War, the purpose is to overthrow the czars of Russia and make Russia a communistic nation. Did that happen? Yes, that happened. So they're correct on the first one. Now what did they say about the Second World War? The Second World War would be the fascists, that would be the Germans, against the political Zionists, that would be Israel. So essentially what they're saying, from the Illuminati point of view, World War II was the Germans to destroy Israel. That's what it's really saying. And it said that as a result of that, communism must become strong enough in order to balance Christendom, and the time would the time would come when they would need that for the final social cataclysm. What does that mean? It means that what they've got to do is destroy communism and capitalism. What they're really saying is to bring in their new world order. Did that come to pass? Did the second one, point number 1, come to pass? Did number 2 come to pass? Yes, it did. What do they say? What do they plan for the Third World War? For the Third World War is going to be between the Illuminati, in other words, the devil, his servants directly, and Israel, or the political Zionists. What's that? That's Armageddon. Okay, that's when Russia and all of her Illuminati buddies all come down to attack Israel. That is Armageddon. And along with that, this is the beast out of the sea, there's going to be Islam, and Islam is what's going to happen is Islam and Zion, or Islam and Israel, are going to go against a big war, just as Leslie was told, and they're going to mutually destroy each other. Then rising up out of those ashes, by the way, that's not the way it happens. Israel is going to clean their clock, because at the time Armageddon says, or takes place, there's at least 2, and I probably should look it up, there's probably 3 or 4 places, where it says, when the Russians come down to attack Israel for Armageddon, Israel dwells safely. In other words, Israel is going to be the great victor in World War III. Now, they didn't say that. Now, we're not talking about Armageddon. World War III will eventually lead to Armageddon, but the way we're talking about it today, they're different wars, okay? Did that, or will that come to pass? Yes, that will come to pass, because that's in prophecy. Now we're getting to the point. And for this page, we're going to read every word of it. Then we shall unleash the nihilists. What's a nihilist? These are people that don't believe there's a God or anything, and the atheists, The atheists teach there is no God, and we shall provoke a formidable social cataclysm. That's ordo ab chaos, or order. What order? A new world order, a world government. Out of chaos, what chaos? A chaos they create. This is the phoenix rising out of the ashes. So when it says a social cataclysm, it's saying what we've got to do is destroy the old world order based upon the Bible. That's the world we live in now, and that's not just one nation, that's all. They want to destroy the old world order. That's the reason they have the Zionists and the Illuminati go against each other for World War III. Anyway, provoke a formidable social cataclysm which in all its horror will show clearly to the nations the effect of absolute atheism. In other words, having no God will not work. That's the point that they're getting to. Having no God will not work. Mankind has to have something above themselves. That's what they're saying. Effect of absolute atheism, the origin of savagery, because that's what atheism brings, savagery, and the most bloody turmoil. Because without a God, then there's nothing to guide humans, and they just destroy each other. Then everywhere, the citizens obliged to defend themselves against the world minority of revolutionaries will then exterminate those destroyers of the civilization and the multitude. Now here it is. This is the point. To say all of that to get to this. Disillusioned with Christianity. They were correct in the first one, the second one. They're going to be correct in the third one, and this too, to a certain degree. But who are these people disillusioned with Christianity? Why would anybody be disillusioned with Christianity? That's a very good question. Let me ask it again. Why would anybody be disillusioned or disappointed or disgruntled or walk away from Christianity? Obviously, Christianity did not deliver what they thought it should deliver, right? And what would that be? Would that be, well, Jesus didn't really die on the cross? No, he really died on the cross. Well, Jesus didn't really rise from the dead? Yes, he really arose from the dead. His blood didn't fall on the Ark of the Covenant? Yes, his blood did fall on the Ark of the Covenant. Well, there's really no Ten Commandments? No, there really was 10 Commandments. No Ark of the Covenant? Oh, yes, there's an Ark of the Covenant. Well, then what is it that's in Christianity that wasn't delivered? The answer? Pre-Trib Rapture. A lot of people believe in it. And they believe in it because they're misinformed, which is why, of course, would send you to my book, How Pre-Trib Won. And why the title? Because how is it the world's greatest nation, the most Christian nation, America, how is it they got snookered into believing that they're going to get sucked out of here? The book explains that, and then it gives you the answers. Anyway, let's go on. They'll exterminate those destroyers of the civilization and the multitude disillusioned with Christianity, whose deistic spirits, in other words, these are Christians that they want to serve a spirit above them, whose deistic spirits will from that moment be without compass or direction. They can't stand the fact that they walked away from Christianity, and now what do I do? What do I do? I got to worship something. There's got to be a book I read. There's got to be a church to go to. There's got to be some kind of group. What do I do? What do I do? Okay? Whose deistic spirits will from that moment be without compass or direction, anxious for an ideal, but without knowing where to render its adoration, will receive the true light through the universal manifestation of the pure doctrine of Lucifer. We call it the mark of the beast. Brought finally out into public view, this manifestation will result in the general reactionary movement. What's that? The purge. Purge of those people that didn't walk away from Christianity. Purge of those few people that are still Christians, which will follow the destruction of Christianity and atheism, both conquered and exterminated at the same time. Wait a minute. I understand why the devil wants to kill Christianity, but why would he want to get rid of atheism? That's a very good question. Now think about that. We understand why the devil wants to get rid of Christianity. We got that. But why does he want to get away? Why does he want to destroy atheism? Because he wants to be worshipped. He wants to sit at the temple of God showing himself that he is God. That's the whole point of Lucifer. He wants to sit in the sides of the north. That's saying he wants to sit on the throne of God. He wants to get the worship that is freely given to God, and he is willing to force it. He just wants that worship. And in order to have that worship, they can't believe that there's not a God. They can't believe that there is an Allah or a Buddha or a Jesus. They can't accept any of the God. All of the world has to worship the beast. And to prove it, they have to take a mark. That's the point. Yes, that's going to come to pass. So, Jesus is not coming until we'll see the Antichrist. Oh, you want a scripture for that? I'll show you one. Satan will have all power and lying signs and wonders. I'm about to show you this in Scripture. This is not speaking of pre-tribbers, but we all need to strive to enter the straight gate. No spot, no wrinkle, or any such thing. Now, what am I talking about? These are the Scriptures. 2 Thessalonians 2:2. It says, don't be shaken of mind or troubled, neither by spirit, word, letter from it. Don't be deceived by any means. Because the day, what day? What day is it talking about? The day Jesus returns. We're not talking about pre-trib, mid-trib. Okay, this is at the very, very end. That day shall not come until there comes a falling away first. What's that? People that got disillusioned with Christianity. People that believed that there was going to be a pre-trib rapture, and they got stone-faced because they realized they were lied to, and they believed the lie. Some of them were some pretty nice people. Some of them really knew their Bible well, but they didn't have the secret door, which is another reason I'd recommend you get my book, Secret Door to Understand Bible Prophecy. Let no man deceive you by any means. That day, in other words, the day that Jesus returns, is not going to come away until there's a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. Perdition means he is tossed into the lake of fire and brimstone with the beast, false prophet, and Lucifer, all three of them, along with all the people that took the mark of the beast, who opposes and exalts himself above all that is called God, that is worshipped, so that he, as God, sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. That's what he wants to do. And then we'll skip. And that wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth. That's the morning star. Okay. And shall destroy with the brightness of his coming, even him who's coming. Oh, wait. What do you mean, destroy with the brightness of his coming? If Jesus comes pre-trib, he doesn't come with all power and glory. He comes as a lamb. You know, he would still be in his lamb body, because if he comes with all power and glory with the morning star pre-trib, there wouldn't be anything left, okay? So when it says the brightness of his coming, that's at the very end. That's Armageddon. That's the Feast of Trumpets, the very, very last day. So, whose coming is after the working of Satan with all power, signs, and lying wonders, with all deceivableness of unrighteousness. Now, what is that? Unrighteousness is deceivable. In other words, like my mom said, son, there's pleasures in sin. In other words, the devil doesn't have a really, really bad package to sell. There's a lot of pleasure in sin. I mean, why do we go to concerts? Why do we get tattoos? Why would we do some of the things? There's a lot of things that the devil offers that the flesh likes, okay? All power, signs, lying wonders. Deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they receive not the love of the truth, that they might be saved. So God sends him strong delusion. I do not think that's a pre-trib rapture. I think that's UFOs that come down and say, we planted you guys here. We seeded you guys thousands of years ago, and we are actually your fathers. And this is the actual father. This guy over here, and they're pointing to the Antichrist. That's the real delusion. But the point is, we've got to stay away from all of the delusions, in my opinion. A pre-trib rapture, a mid-trib rapture is all part of a delusion. I personally believe that those that are ready, that's not everybody, those that are ready go to the marriage supper of the Lamb, which is about 4 months before Armageddon. God shall send them strong delusion that they should believe the lie, that they all might be damned who believed not the truth, but had pleasure in righteousness. What is all of this saying? It's all saying that there's not going to be a time where Jesus is going to come in the clouds. That day will not come till there's a falling away first and man of sin be revealed. The man of sin is revealed in the middle of the tribulation. The thing that tells us absolutely positively this is the Antichrist is when the Antichrist goes in and sits on the Ark of the Covenant, Remember that it says the abomination of desolation. When you see abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place, then run for your life. Well, that happens mid-trib. So this one scripture, 2 Thessalonians 2:4, destroys a pre-trib rapture. I'll say it again. Look at it. That day, Jesus is not going to come until there's a falling away first and the Antichrist is revealed. I'll read it again. That day, Jesus is not going to come until there's a falling away. In other words, a purge, Christians walking away, and the man of sin revealed. It's not going to happen. Now, I can go through and show you many verses. I've got a couple of verses here for you. I don't have time to explain all of these, but if you want some more verses, there's your 6 nice pre-trib killers. Okay? If you understand those verses, I don't have time to explain them today. There's 6 verses that very nicely kill pre-trib. But I do have to explain a couple of them. Luke 21:36 is one of the favorite verses the pre-tribbers use. Watch ye therefore and pray always that you might be accounted worthy to escape all these things and to stand before the Son of Man. Now, they say that if you pray a whole lot, you can avoid the tribulation. That's not what it's saying. See the word stand? That's the key to understanding the verse, and it's found in Revelation 6:17. For that day, for the great day of his wrath has come, that's Armageddon. The great day of his wrath has come, and who should be able to stand? Meaning, after he has blowed the morning star down with the brightness of his coming, we just read, once that happens, and the sun, moon, and stars disappear like smoke, the tares fall to the ground, a pile of ashes and bones, out of our belly flows rivers of living water, we get our crowns, our mantles, rewards, and for us eternity starts. Those that are left standing, be you on a horse behind him, be you in the grave, or be you on the planet, wherever you are at that point, if you're still left standing after the burning, you're good. Now let's go to, I'm running out of time again. A lot of people point to these verses. Man, I got to get through this. A lot of people point to these 2 verses, this proves that we don't have to go through any tribulation. Okay. Don't grab from the message board and take what is not yours. They say, Revelation 3:10 says, I will keep you from the hour of temptation. Then Revelation 2:10 turns around and says, you have tribulation 10 days, be faithful unto death, and I'll give you a crown of life. Well, which one do we want to pick off on the message board and stick to us? Now, the pre-tribbers want to say, I'll take the one that says, I can escape the temptation. Well, why didn't they turn around and pick the one that says, be faithful unto death, and I'll give you a crown of life? Here's the point. Okay, so is this one correct? Is this one wrong? Here's the answer. So if you go back and research it, the top verse, I will keep you from the hour of temptation, was spoken to the angel of the church of Philadelphia. And then be faithful unto death was spoken to Smyrna. What's the difference? You can find this in many charts that says that there's 7 church ages. And I don't have time to go into all the details. This is a whole 1-hour teaching. But anyway, the church of Ephesus, bottom left corner, AD 30 to 100. Smyrna is another church aged 100. Skip over to the right, Philadelphia, and then we are Laodicea. So, what is that saying? It's saying, my brothers and sisters, that today's church is actually Laodicea. Okay, if we're Laodicea, then what are the other ones? See, the reason Philadelphia got so blessed, it says, they have kept my word and has not denied my name. Whereas the church of Smyrna says, your works and your tribulation, your poverty, you went through that. So they were tested. Both of them were tested. What about us? What does the Bible say about this generation? I know thy works, that thou art neither cold or hot. I would that thou were cold or hot, so then because thou art lukewarm, in other words, most Christians in America and around the world, they're not really on fire for Jesus. They're not really on fire for Lucifer. They're kind of in this middle lukewarm area. True. And we say, especially American Christians, I'm rich and increased with goods and have need of nothing. In other words, I don't need to go to church. I don't need to read my Bible. I don't need to pray. I don't need a prayer closet. I don't need to go to church. I don't need to listen to all this preaching. I'm doing just fine. No, it's not that thou art wretched, miserable, and poor, and blind, and naked. All that is a spiritual thing. So it says in verse 18, I counsel thee to buy me gold tried in the fire. What fire? Is that the fire of hell? No, he's talking to Christians. What's the fire? That's the fire. In other words, can you make it through the fire of the morning star? Counsel thee to buy me gold tried in the fire, that thou mayest be rich. In other words, if you make it through the burning, you're rich. And at that point, you're also wearing white raiment, that thou mayest be clothed, and the shame of the nakedness do not appear, and anoint thine eyes with thy salve, that thou mayest see. So we are the church that is poor, blind, and naked. We are the church, he's saying, look, you're going to be seeing the fire. You are the last church. You're going to be the church that's here on earth when that morning star is blown down. And if you have white raiment and if you're clothed, you can make it through the burning. So, this is not exactly the best one to be, but this is the one that we're actually living in. Now, let me remind you, by this shall all men know that you are my disciples, if you have love one to another. So you pre-tribbers, I love you, and I hope you love me, and I hope you will stick with us as we go through this trouble ahead. If you don't want to lose your life's savings, if you have an IRA or a 401k, the thing to do is call 800-200-GOLD. 800-200-GOLD. These folks are Christians, and they specialize in helping people not lose their life savings in the event of a stock market crash and things like that. Look, most of the 401ks, most of the IRAs are in paper, backed by paper, and as Lindsey Williams says, if it's in paper, it's worth the paper it's written on. You can lose it all. 1-800-200-GOLD. 800-200-GOLD. Hey, give them a call. Doesn't hurt, doesn't cost you anything. See if they can give you some good advice. In 2021, I started making bread. And long story short is I believe God showed me that wheat is God's famine food, just like it was famine food back in the 7 years of plenty, 7 years of famine, days of Pharaoh and Joseph. And I believe that that's what God has planned to feed his people. And you get it by going to josephskitchen.com. 3 steps. First, you want to get a machine package. Second, you want to order 6 ingredients and watch some videos, download the recipes to be able to make the bread. josephskitchen.com. Most of your long-time storage food, emergency food, all of that, typically are talking $9,000, $10,000 to feed one person for a year. Joseph Kitchen can show you how to do it for around $1,000 a person, and your kids will actually eat it, and it's actually good for you. Here's some bread that I made. In my case, I lost weight, lowered my blood pressure, gives me more energy. I eat a morning, slice in the morning, slice in the afternoon. Always a slice before I go play racquetball. Go check it out, josephskitchen.com.